Jacob's first son with the woman he loved. Allowed by God in his old age. Known as the dreamer, he became father to Pharaoh and saved many peoples from famine through stewardship. But what forged the man who did such feats? What did he have to go through to reach that destiny? What can we learn from the story, life, and process of Joseph? Jacob loved Joseph more than his brothers because he had had him in his old age. That is what the Holy Scriptures tell us in Genesis 37, verses 1-3. So it was not only because he was Rachel's son that he was loved. However, that was not a pleasant thing to his brothers, mainly to the sons of the concubines. Dream mockers. Joseph worked accompanying the sons of Bilhah and Bilhah, not because he wanted to, as we are sometimes made to see, but by order of his father. They hated him, they could not bear to see him, they despised him, therefore, they could not speak well of him. Joseph's brothers were complex people, and from their complex pain and suffering, they envied Joseph who, according to them, took or enjoyed what they owed them. Things got worse when he received his dreams. Joseph had to face the constant mockery of his brothers. Until on one of the occasions when his father sent him to watch over his brothers, this in verse 14, he never returned. The mockers of dreams can not only be mockers, they are mostly destroyers, since what they seek with their mockery is to intimidate you and make you give up your dreams, convictions, decisions, and beliefs. They do not want you to advance, because although it seems that they are advancing in reality, they are stagnant, frustrated. Joseph, who knew the love of a father and a mother, lost everything. He became a slave. His present clothes did not reflect what he was, but he never stopped being what he was, always one of the princes of Israel with a divine destiny. Although everyone around him saw only a slave, God's favor was with him. It was perceptible because, although he was a slave, everything he touched prospered. What he did for others, not for himself. That was a sign that God was with him. Have you ever met people who when they do things for others they come out great, but they don't seem to move forward or nothing works out well for them? Are you one of those people? Congratulations, you are in the process, on your way to your destiny, but if you don't realize it, if you keep complaining about dream mockers, if you keep stuck in the past, you will spend a long time in this period. It will not go away until you move forward and learn or overcome what is necessary for you at this level. Joseph did not complain about what had happened to him, or at least the scriptures do not show us that, but he was resilient and did his best as a slave in Potiphar's house. This caught Potiphar's attention, and he was promoted from a common slave to being the slave manager of the house and all that Potiphar had. And although some would have forgotten that they were slaves and would think that they achieved their goal, remember none of it was his and he was going to realize it. Then another situation happened that without looking for it seemed to make their dreams more and more difficult. Hunters of grace and favor. Potiphar's wife began to harass Joseph, and although the physical or lewd side of the matter is always seen, the truth is that God's favor and grace was upon Joseph, and that beautifies, attracts, and she was drawn to him. If Joseph had paid attention to her and fallen for her charms, he would not have advanced to the next level in his purpose. Have you currently found yourself in that situation? Where out of nowhere people appear who constantly flatter you, who try to seduce you, who are insistent and use their words, charm, or power trying to get something from you. It is not you, it is the grace of God that is reflected in you. Protect what was given to you. Joseph knew his destiny and knew that this was not his end and that indulging in this pleasure would destroy his future, and he resisted trusting God to honor his effort, his sacrifice, and his obedience. When the hunters achieve what they get from you, they discard you and slander you, and if they don't achieve it either, they slander you in the same way. Thanks to that, Joseph arrived at the place where he should be, the jail of the king's officials. And in that place, the favor and grace of God that was shown in Potiphar's house was manifested. For it was because of him that Potiphar's house prospered, though it was not for him. God placed Joseph in prison so that he would be in the best position for the opportunity that would come to him in the future. And when it came, Joseph was able to perceive it and take advantage of it. Bridges. After a time in prison, where again God had shown his favor with Joseph, and the head of the prison made him the administrator of all the prisoners there. Those whom God had established as liaisons for Joseph's promotion arrived. The cupbearer and the king's baker. There are times when God presents situations in your path to take you to the next level, but it is up to you to discern it and take advantage of it. What would have happened if Joseph had not noticed that Pharaoh's officials were distressed, or if he had noticed he had not asked them why? If Joseph had not been aware and dared to ask them what was happening to them, he would not have been able to interpret their dreams and thus present himself to Pharaoh a few years later. The opportunity only lasted a few days. As they arrived, they were a few days in prison, where Joseph treated them in the best way and diligently. They had their dreams. Joseph interpreted them, and 3 days later they were fulfilled. Joseph took the opportunity and presented his case before the cupbearer and asked him to remember him when he was reinstated. But the cupbearer forgot, and 2 more years passed. The seed was already planted, and it was only a matter of waiting for God's time. And Joseph did not waste that time. He stood firm, waiting and improving every day in his management skills. Until the opportunity came, and when he presented himself before Pharaoh, he not only interpreted his dream, but he gave him the information showing his ability in a subtle way and without having to do more. Have you ever thought that everything that happens and has happened to you, when apparently you have nothing to do with it, is for a greater or divine purpose? That it is so great what God has for you that He is preparing you for it? Are you being forewarned? Are you seeing beyond the circumstances? Are you paying attention to the mockers? Are you fleeing from the hunters? And are you applying yourself for when the bridges or links for your promotion present themselves? Or are you confusing them and therefore you are stuck and have not reached your purpose? Joseph gave up his freedom, his possessions, his clothing and appearance, his position as his father's favorite son, and God made him prince over his brothers, father to Pharaoh, savior of the earth, second only to the most powerful man in the world at that time. Power, authority, wealth, family and possessions. God is not a debtor to anyone. Remember, study the scriptures, stay prepared, and see you next video.